From Wish TV and the All Indiana Podcast Network, this is the News 8 Daily 8 Podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update.
Hi, this is Kylie Conway, and this is the News 8 Daily 8 for Wednesday, February 2nd. Obviously, the huge storyline of the day today is the winter storm that is already hitting the northern parts of our state and making its way down to central Indiana. Stephanie Mead is joining me right now to talk about the timing of the storm, what people need to look out for. Kind of what we're talking about today is, despite it raining right now, it's coming.
It is, yeah. And northwestern portions of the state are already accumulating 4 to upwards of 5 inches from the snow we saw early this morning. Eventually, some of that precipitation, that light mix, is going to track into the metro areas. We head through mid to late afternoon, so that's when we can expect to see that change over. And later on tonight, we could see a few heavier bands of snow actually set up across the metro area before the first wave moves out. So this is a 2-waver type of system where it'll first move in early this morning, stick with us as rain through a good portion of the day, and then later on tonight we'll start to see a transition over to a light wintry mix and snow. We'll see a brief break, and then I think tomorrow morning for the morning drive it's going to get a little messy for us here.
Yeah, so we gave the warning that yesterday was really the best day to go out and get all your things. Today is still okay to do that if you're here, but you just have to contend with that rain before it freezes.
You know, it was such a tricky system because it's areas north, not necessarily the best day to get things done. Yesterday was your big day to do that. For us here in the metro area, you still have time before you see that transition over. So I think through the early half of the afternoons when you really need to get stuff done. And then tonight, I think all bets are off for anybody. So last minute things need to be done before mid to late afternoon for us here. And then it really starts to become snow. And roadways are going to get slick, especially covered in the snow. We're not necessarily seeing treating happening right now because of the rain, so it is going to get messy.
The evening commute for people could be really bad.
It could be, yeah. So we're looking at ice accumulation. Possibly, it's not going to be large, but you don't really need a lot of ice in order to create havoc out on the roads. So ice is going to be under 1/10 of an inch here in Indianapolis. We do have an ice storm warning, so that was newly added to the mix early this morning for southern Indiana. So early tomorrow morning, too, especially could get really messy for southern portions of the state.
All right, everybody be safe this evening and in the morning. Make sure the first thing you do in the morning is check wishtv.com and the Storm Track 8 team's weather blog, the radar, and tune in to Daybreak on Wish TV because we are going to have wall-to-wall coverage in the morning. It's going to be a messy Thursday morning commute.
Yeah, very messy Thursday morning and potentially even Friday morning because we're talking almost a foot of snow on the ground early Friday morning. So plan accordingly.
It's headed our way. All right, Stephanie, thank you.
Yeah.
And city leaders put it simply, stay off the roads when the rain starts changing to snow. The Department of Public Works says it's sending out 80 trucks and has 11,000 tons of salt to treat the streets. Mayor Joe Hogsett says if you do have to drive, expect it to be dangerous.
Starting Wednesday evening at the latest, drivers should stay off the roads if at all possible.
We will evaluate conditions as we go forward through this event. But this is a serious event that will utilize all of the assets of DPW operations.
DPW says it's also ready to call in private contractors to help with snow removal. No word yet when those will start. AES is preparing for possible power outages, and they have crews on standby for when and if this occurs. But first things first, they say be prepared and have a safety kit planned. AES suggests having an emergency kit filled with water bottles, extra clothes, blankets, and phone chargers. Also have a backup plan if you rely on electric-powered medical equipment. Here's what you can do before the storm. Develop an emergency plan. Call your local emergency management office to discuss necessary arrangements if need be, and know how to report a power outage ahead of the winter storm. You should report an outage immediately and don't rely on your neighbor to report it. If your power goes out, AES wants you to also turn off all of your appliances, including your furnace, space heaters, water heater, water pump, but leave on one lamp to know when power has been restored. Open your blinds during the day, cover windows with drapes at night. If the indoor temperature drops to 55 degrees or below, open your faucets slightly so they constantly drip to prevent pipes from freezing. And how can you report an outage? It's very easy. You can go to aesindiana.com or call 317-261-8111. We've also been watching flight cancellations roll into Indianapolis. FlightAware reports as of this morning, 67 flights in and out of Indianapolis International are canceled today. And there are already dozens canceled for tomorrow. At last check, there were 131 flights in and out of Indianapolis International canceled for your Thursday. Several COVID-19 clinics are closed for the winter weather. Testing sites are closed at Indianapolis Motor Speedway and in Porter, LaPorte, St. Joseph, Pulaski, Huntington, and DeKalb counties. These clinics will not open back up until at least Friday. Officials tell us that they're waiting to make decisions on clinics south of Johnson County. If you have an appointment set for today, you should have already gotten instructions to reschedule. The Hamilton County Health Department also says its clinics will be closed through Friday. This comes as COVID-19 hospitalizations are on the rise again. The state health department says 98 more people are in the hospital compared to Monday. ICU bed availability also dropped slightly to 14.4% statewide. And it appears more parents are warming up to the idea of COVID-19 vaccines for the very youngest children. The Kaiser Family Foundation shows it's still not a majority of parents, though. We're talking about 3 in 10 parents with children under 5 who want their kids vaccinated against COVID as soon as possible. The latest poll shows 31% of parents say they would get their young kids vaccinated right away. 29% would wait and see what happens with the vaccine. 12% would only get their kids vaccinated if it's required, and 26% say they definitely would not. Compared to September and July, the percentage of parents wanting to vaccinate is going up. These numbers come as the Pfizer vaccine for kids 6 months to 5 years old has just been submitted to the FDA for emergency use authorization. Now, the agency's Vaccine Advisory Committee is scheduled to meet and consider it on February 15th, which means shots could be available for little kids in a matter of weeks. The U.S. Surgeon General says this is a big step.
What is happening right now is that Pfizer is in the process of getting all of their data to the FDA. And what the FDA is going to do is do a thorough and thoughtful analysis of that data to understand the answer to 2 critical questions. Is this vaccine safe for kids under 5? And is it effective for kids under 5? And if the answer to both of those questions is yes, then they will recommend that it be used.
New data from the Kaiser Family Foundation also shows the number of older kids getting vaccinated is going up. In January, 61% of 12 to 17-year-olds were vaccinated, and 33% of 5 to 11-year-olds were fully vaccinated against COVID. The FDA says it hopes the authorization of the vaccine for younger kids can be granted later this month. A teenager is in critical condition after a shooting on the north side. Indianapolis police tell us a 15-year-old boy was shot on North College Avenue just south of East 46th Street. It happened just before 7 last night. IMPD says the teen was taken to Riley Hospital for Children. The department didn't share any other information about his identity or what led to the shooting. And 2 communities are reeling after shootings on school campuses in Minnesota and Virginia. Authorities say both happened yesterday afternoon. Just outside Minneapolis, 2 people are under arrest for a shooting near the front entrance of a school. The shooting left 1 student dead and another in critical condition. Family friends say the student who was killed was in his first week at school.
There are students that come through our doors every day. We care for them, and this is a terrible tragedy and loss.
Police say they have a gun used in that shooting. In Virginia, someone shot 2 campus police officers at Bridgewater College just northwest of Charlottesville. School officials identified the officers as John Painter and J.J. Jefferson. The suspect is wounded. Investigators are not yet saying if he shot himself or if officers fired at him. From our iTeam8, the head of Indigo is talking for the first time since our investigation into the failure of some equipment for wheelchair riders on Red Line buses. Last month, we followed our colleague Kane Walters on his journey home from using the Indigo system. We've watched his struggles over the past 2 years using the buses. We found many issues with the quantum system. It's what Indigo uses on the buses to keep wheelchairs from moving on the bus. After our iTeam8 report, Indigo CEO Inez Evans agreed to sit down and talk about the issues and potential solutions.
It has definitely been a higher failure rate than we would have liked to have seen. But we're not the only transit agency that is experiencing that with the Quantum. But I will say the manufacturer of the Quantum system is the same manufacturer who does our 4-point tie-down strap system. So they're very dedicated to mobility and the securement and the safety of customers.
Evans says that 2/3 of the 31 Quantum devices owned by Indigo are in good working order. She also notes that since our reports, Indigo has instructed drivers to check the Quantum systems once a week. Now you can see this entire full interview right now on wishtv.com. And we are 116 days away from the 106th running of the Indianapolis 500. And this morning, you can sign your children up for a different race in May. The 500 Festival Rookie Run will happen May 15th at Monument Circle. The event's open to kids 3 to 10. A $5 registration will get your child a commemorative medal. $10 will also get a T-shirt. Pre-registration deadline is May 11th. And today, a first chance to see a major renovation at the casino and track in Shelbyville under its new name, Horseshoe Indianapolis Racing and Casino. The former Indiana Grand just completed $32 million in improvements. The renovations include an expanded casino floor and a new World Series of Poker room. The official ribbon cutting is this morning at 11 a.m. And finally, we learned this morning that Punxsutawney Phil saw his shadow, so extra winter it is, to the dismay of actual meteorologists everywhere as we have this huge winter storm approaching this Groundhog Day. The most famous weather-watching woodchuck is in Pennsylvania, where the prediction came in this morning around 7:30. The folklore says if he sees his shadow, expect 6 more weeks of winter. If he doesn't, spring comes sooner. Several other towns have groundhog traditions too, including Hope, Indiana, where Hope has taken over duties from Grubby. Columbus, Ohio has Buckeye Chuck. Georgia's version is General Beauregard Lee, and there are several others across the country. But as far as Punxsutawney, he says 6 more weeks of winter. This has been your News 8 Daily 8 for Wish TV. I'm Kylie Conway. Online at wishtv.com and follow us on Facebook when you search Wish TV.
This is the News 8 Daily 8 podcast with Wish TV's Kylie Conway. A Wish TV News 8 update on demand for even more on demand and on the go. Connect with Wish TV on Facebook at wishtv.com and on the free Wish TV mobile app. Thank you for listening, and be sure to like, subscribe, and follow this podcast for updates every weekday morning on the All Indiana Podcast Network and wherever you get your podcast.